Hello and welcome to the video. This is to look at a couple of bits of new technology from the guys at SpeedyBee. Now SpeedyBee I think is part of the RunCam family, and this is the thing that I looked at most recently. This is the Speedy B USB Adapter. The idea is that you plug it into your Betaflight flight controller, you power it from a battery that powers the flight controller with a 5-volt supply, and also allows you to connect to and talk to an application on an Android or iOS device. Now this is a great little bit of tech, and I'm fascinated to see what they're going to do next. So that's what we're going to look at in this video. Now SpeedyBee are about to come out with two things. One is the TX500, and then this is the VTX-DVR. Now we'll come on to this in a minute. Let's start with the TX500. So this is a little video transmitter, 20mm mounting holes. So there it is out of its box. It does support IRC tramp, and it does also support pit mode as well. So this is 25, 200 and 500 milliwatt output. Voltage input on this is only going to be a limited range, 3.5 to 5.5 volts. They talk about 1S on the website, but I'm not sure whether or not I'd run it from 1S. But running it from a 5-volt battery eliminator circuit sounds like a really nice idea. It has a little microphone on it, MMCX connector, and again you've got the button for manual setup. So that is quite a cute little thing. Let me just show you the cables that are also in this box, so you have a rough idea how much shenanigans you've got. So in here there's an adapter, which is SMA. So for all of you fat sharp pilots out there, you'll be happy about that. Come on, camera. And there's also a little pigtail that will clip into the back as well for little lightweight quads, which is a really nice touch, because this is really going to be used on the top of really small compact quadcopters. And then you have the wiring loom, and you have some mounting hardware as well. So that is an interesting idea for those of you that are looking at 20mm mounted video transmitters. I haven't tested this in anger yet, but I've been impressed with the SpeedyBee stuff so far, so let's see what this is like. Just need a build to pop this in. The one I'm more interested in, and the one I want to spend more time with, is actually this little fella. Now I've been after a video transmitter with a DVR on it for ages. Now lots of you are probably looking at this thinking, well, why the heck would you want to do that? Well, the reason is because lots of beginner pilots who are coming into the hobby don't have DVRs on their cheap and cheerful goggles. So they might be using some kind of box goggle, and adding DVRs to stuff is a pain in the butt. And also if you're flying and you're pushing the environment, so maybe you're getting lots of breakup on your FPV footage, then you can't actually see what's going on and the playback's terrible. But if you have a DVR on the model, you can actually watch it back after the fact without all that breakup. So this is what the board looks like. So it's a full-size board this time. Much higher voltage inputs. This time it runs from 7 to 26 volts, so you're pretty much going to run it from your battery directly. It has little LEDs on here to show you exactly what band and channel you have. You have a button to change them if you want to. Also supports IRC tramp. Again, this one has a microphone on it, same style of adapter, so very similar to the smaller version. But the big difference is there is an SD card. So you can actually install an SD card in here and do recording. So the encoder on this I think is a MJPEG AVI. It's going to run at about 640 by 480 depending on the frame rate. By the sounds of it, it'll change it between PAL and NTSC. So NTSC will be 30 frames a second for the DVR, PAL will be 25. It has 25, 200 and 600 milliwatt setting, and because it's got these extra bits on it, it's a little bit more power hungry, so it's gonna pull about 450 milliamps at about 9 volts, and that's probably a decent voltage to run this on if you have that option for the particular model that you're going to set up. So let me pop in a 32 gig SD card into this slot. Let me plug it into a little camera. Let's go and have a go and see what the recording's actually like, because I'm fascinated to see the difference between the DVR on this and the DVR on something like my Fat Shark goggles. In the box with the unit you do also get the same adapters, the antenna and the cables and mounting kit as well. I'm very quickly going to solder a connector onto the 3 wires, the ground plus 5 volts and the video in that's going to go to the camera, I'm going to use the Swift 3 in this example that we looked at about a week ago, and then the power input, I'm just going to pop a JST connector on it. That will do fine for the bits and pieces. The last wire that isn't used is that tramp wire that you're going to connect onto your flight controller so you can control everything using the on-screen display. So a quick test here shows that it's working. There are two buttons at the side. One controls the power channel band and other bits and bobs as well. It is limited, I think, initially to 25 milliwatts, but it shows you in the manual how to unlock it if you want a higher power. And by default, the recording starts automatically. The green LED flashes to indicate that it's recording. A single flash means everything's okay. It starts automatically by default, which is really nice touch. And then to stop it, you press the button again, and you have to make sure that you press it because it doesn't automatically close off the file. It'll record in 5-minute chunks, so if you're out in the field and you fly for 6 or 7 minutes and unfortunately something happens to your craft and you crash and the power's disconnected, the first 5 minutes will be saved automatically. So a quick look at the format of the file that I'm getting off the DVR. This is all the settings here on the right hand side, but the best thing for us to do is to take it out down the usual lane, and I'll record in my Fatshark HDOs, and I'll also get the recording from the SD card that's plugged into the SpeedyBee VTX-DVR as well. So here we are walking down this lane that I always tend to use for this. It's great, it has lots of shadow, the sky tends to be very bright. Again, it's a good example of how the new Swift Micro 3 is performing. The HDO image is on the left hand side, and the image on the right hand side is from the SpeedyBee VTX-DVR. And you'll be able to see that they're pretty much identical. There isn't a lot to choose between them at all. And as I scroll around, you'll see lots of different things, including my neighbour's dog, who is beautiful sweetie. He's rather old, and unfortunately the hot weather that we've got here in the UK isn't agreeing with him very well, so he tends to come out for his walk at this time of the morning, which is why we've bumped into him. He's a real cutie. I'll just increase the audio at this point. This is the audio coming off the SD card recording from the SpeedyBee.
You're quite happy just to be played with all the time, aren't you? You just stand there.
It's a little bit muffled and it's a little bit quiet, but it's absolutely usable. So hopefully you can see how well it's performing. So in conclusion, what do I think? Well, I've wanted a DVR on a video transmitter for a long time. For me, it's going to be very handy to be able to use this, probably get another one and just use it to test the cameras, because at the moment I have to walk down the lane with the goggles against my eyes and the camera and the video transmitter and things in my hand, trying to walk like some kind of weird, wacky, out-of-step VR experience. Being able to plug this board into a camera and get that recording without having to bother about the goggles and get all that interference that you naturally get when you're using a goggle and video transmitter that close up is going to be really helpful. But it is also going to be very handy for those pilots who maybe are using a screen or a set of goggles or something else where they want to be able to record these stuff locally on the model itself. There are only a couple of things that I hope they address in a future firmware version. First is that there isn't any auto stop. It would have been really nice that on the disconnection of power it would gracefully shut down and close the current file that's running. I wish they'd have added that. That would have been such a fantastic feature. You got to remember to stop the recording before you unplug the battery. The auto start is a brilliant idea. Just wish they'd have also put the auto stop on it as well. And the other thing as well, if I just zoom in to one of the tests that I was doing on the bench, you can see here that it isn't pixel perfect out of the camera. This is the kind of interference or artifacts, I guess you'd call them, and you don't tend to get these where there's not lots of straight edges. It's a little bit of a weird one. It's just a shame that it couldn't get that pixel perfect image straight out the camera. It almost feels like the DVR recording is happening on the way out to the antenna rather than on the way in from the camera. But those two little niggles aside, it is a very nice unit. Last couple of things here. Let me just show you a couple of power settings. This is actually what it's reading on the 25 milliwatt setting, and I haven't changed it. I'm just running at the legal 25 milliwatts here for all the testing. So if you're interested in finding a little bit more, or maybe downloading the manual and having a look, I'll put links in the description to both the 20mm TX500 compact video transmitter and also this VTX-DVR from SpeedyBee as well. If you found that video useful or like the content, then please hit the like and subscribe button down below. If you want to go the extra step, you can become a Patreon of the Painless 360 channel and help provide support for what I do here All the videos created here are put into playlists, so if you're interested in a particular topic, have a look at the playlist, and they all are organised in there to make them easier to use. If you're not sure if there's a video for your particular problem or topic you want to know more about, then add Painless360 to the Google search term that you're interested in, and that should find the video, article or content about the particular thing that you're interested in having a look at.